Well, good morning and thanks for joining us again. This is Newspaper Review and Happy Democracy Day, Nigerians. Wish you, wish you the very best as the day progresses. Some Nigerians have gathered on the certain bridges in Lagos Ikeja bridge to protest. And like I said during the VOP This Morning show, that we will bring you updates on that one in the course of time. But in the meantime, let's look at stories that made it to the cover pages of the dailies. We do have The Guardian, The Punch, and Business Day, and a few other dailies. We'll be touching on as many as we can in the course of the program. Now, from The Guardian newspaper, well, I am Moses Humphrey, and it's been from the morning show, so it feels like we've been here for a long time. Well, I'm Moses Humphrey, just in case you're tuning in for the first time. This is Newspaper Review.
And welcome. I am Omokri. Thanks for joining us again.
Oh, yes. And of course, we have Dele Fanimo with us from the VOP This Morning show. He stays back for Newspaper Review. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into it, shall we? 32 years on, mixed feelings, tinges of regret as Democrats relieve ghosts of June 12. That's from the cover page of The Guardian newspaper. The window headlines, 8 killed, 80 homes razed in Plateau community. US, Britain, Canada, others advise FG against abusing Cybercrimes Act. Fasoranti advocates Nigeria's return to 1963 constitution. Tinubu awaits Wike's defection as PDP. Momodu caution on civilian dictatorship. How my wife rescued me from Abacha's men by Bamidele. Furore over renaming of ICC after Tinubu amid 39 billion naira renovation scandal. This one threw me off balance when I found out how much was spent on the renovation of the International Conference Center in Nigeria. Formerly the Abuja International Conference Center, AICC, now to be known as BAT-ICC. Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center, 39 billion. And Chukwuma said, how much was spent? About 200 million.
240 million.
240 million was spent to build.
Yes.
To build from ground up.
To delivery point, turnkey to delivery point.
240 million
naira.
Okay, and then some things, some roof came off, some screws went off, and we spent 39 billion. Is it that price of building materials has gone up?
No, even at that, let's even factor the inflation. Maybe inflation 200%, and times it by how many years now? 20 years. It still doesn't add up to 39 billion naira.
Goodness gracious. Oh well.
It doesn't.
Dele, what do you think? This breaks my heart. It's 39 billion.
Why should
I'm concerned because
why should it break your heart?
We are suffering. Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians don't have food to eat.
It shouldn't break your heart because
and the president is giving thumbs up.
You see, what should even break your heart the more is the quality of job that would have been done with that humongous amount of money. Do you know that if you go to some of these institutions, the original structure is even more solid than the one that they are renovating?
Of course, yes. Of course.
If you go to UCH, the old building of 1950s still stands erect, whereas the one that they just did about 10, 15, 20 years ago has started collapsing. If you go to State Secretariat in Ibadan, it's the same story. So, how are we sure of the integrity of this 39 billion naira expenditure? Before you know it, that 39 billion, only 9 may even get to the end contractor that will do the job. They will start slicing it from the top. That's why our roads are not good anymore. A road is awarded for 3 trillion, but less than 800 billion gets to the contractor. And the contractor wants to make profit.
Oh,
So at the end of the day, you get a job of 500 billion.
This one you just said just reminds me of what a skit maker did. The guy said, look, government allocated or allotted a certain amount of money for road construction. Now, was everybody, happy? And then the contractor took the briefcase filled with money as he was going.
Was dropping
from one office to another. People were coming out from their offices, taking their share until he got to a point where, look, there was really nothing left for him. And then he got to the road and he just took painted a portion of the road, took a ribbon, put it there, called the minister to cut the tape, and he took the rest of the money, put it in his pocket. And I think that's what we are suffering in Nigeria.
So that's why I said the money should not be even your worry as much as what that money is. I mean, where that money is going.
The writers to this story, CUPP Huriwa Yusufu Lash Tinubu minister as FCT hospitals, schools suffer. Tinubu Akpabio extol Julius Berger for good job.
Good, for a good job well done. Good money well paid.
Good money well paid.
Yes,
job
you
well
see,
done.
There are so many talking points about this ICT center, ICC. One unfortunate thing is that the man that built this center.
I need to say this before we forget. Okay. When they eulogize Julius Berger, you should also know that Julius Berger Germany they are divested from Julius Berger Nigeria. So it's not the old Julius Berger.
The chairman of Julius Berger is Mutu now, Mutu Sumonu, former Shell.
I am telling you that it's now Julius Berger Nigeria.
That's what I'm saying. This Shell, former Shell general manager.
Yes, now.
So you're saying we should not expect the quality
that
certainly
used to get.
Certainly, it wouldn't be. But what I was talking about is that this particular edifice, this national monument, the man that built it is still around. Ibrahim Badamos Babangida was the one that constructed it. He's still alive. He's still living. Now, some other person comes to renovate it.
39 billion. No. When you say the man that built it, please tell us the man that built it with
240 million naira. Now, after how many years? After 34 years or so, you renovate it with 39 billion naira. Now, you name it after the sitting president. Meanwhile, the man that built it is still alive. What does that say? What does that tell you about we as a people?
There's another structure in Lagos that was also renovated. I think it was affected during NSAS. It's been renovated and named after the president. So
is it the NAF ICT Center? The National Air Force ICT Center.
Exactly.
That was named after Tinubu. I mean, you are awarded medals in a 90-minute game of 90 minutes. In the course of maybe half time. In fact, before halftime, you start awarding medals. Who does that?
The Bible approved of it.
Okay, you award medals in the course of before the end of the tournament.
The laborers, those who came in the morning and those who came 1 hour to closing time, they were given the same wage.
I didn't know you were a Bible scholar. Tell us more about that. No, but it sounds funny. It sounds funny.
No, you see, we are just making fun of all this because at the end of the day, it will rackle your brain and it will not matter to anybody that is in government. It's as bad as that. Just like the protest we are talking about. Everybody in government, when they see this protest, they will just be drinking their coffee and whiskey and be laughing. Because they know that it will pay to insignificance at the end of the day.
All right.
That this one now, the deed has been done.
How will Babangida feel?
Okay. Of course, he'll feel bad. Maybe if he had known, he probably would have named it after himself.
Okay. Like the Third Mainland Bridge, which is IBB Boulevard.
IBB, yeah.
Boulevard.
Nobody calls it that.
Nobody calls it that.
Let's look at a few things. It's just 2 years of this administration. A few structures that's been named after the president. And some would say this just reeks of megalomania. Now, there's now the Bola Ahmed Tinubu Barracks, Abuja.
Okay.
We've talked about there's the Bola Ahmed Tinubu Technology Innovation Complex, BAT TIC, Abuja. We have the Bola Tinubu Polytechnic, Abuja.
Okay.
We have the Bola Ahmed Tinubu Way, Abuja, that's a road. We have the National Assembly Library, now renamed the Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu Building. We also have the Bola Tinubu International Conference Center, the one we just talked about. So, you know, these are a list of some...
Does it make any difference with what Louis XIV said? Set I'm the state and the state is me. That is what it translates to now. If you are alive and we are naming... Maybe one day they will just rename us a rock. Yes.
There's that possibility.
There is that possibility. Because it is the FCT administration that has the right to name all those edifices around Abuja.
Who is in charge of FCT administration? So it's as good as having Tinubu in FCT. He's working for Tinubu now as the president of the country.
So I'm just thinking, I'm imagining how, I said it and we talked about it, how IBB will be feeling, you know, after building this edifice and someone is coming to take the glory. Because if that name stays, generations of Nigerians, you know, maybe in the next 30, 40 years, would simply believe that it was Bola Ahmed Tinubu that built it.
Not at this time that we are not even students of history anymore.
Let's move on to other stories now. Well, let's also look at the demand for foreign goods falls as Nigeria's imports drop by 7% in Q1. Is this good news? That's from the Guardian newspaper as well. Let's see if we can check out some sort of... Okay. Nigeria's total imports fell by 4.59% in the first quarter of the year compared to the previous quarter, suggesting a moderate drop in the demand for foreign goods. Foreign trade data released by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, yesterday showed that the country's imports in Q1 valued 15.43 trillion naira compared to 16.59 trillion naira imported in Q4 of 2024. However, on year, the value of imports rose by 4.59%, a modest increase, but not enough to plug the hole in the real value of the imports when the nominal value is discounted for inflation, which is over 20%. Well, this report goes on, but basically, basically saying that demand for foreign goods is falling as Nigeria's imports is dropping, and so far has dropped by 7%.
No, okay, I like the economics there. I like the economics that the nominal value, which is different from the real value, is the one that is dropping. Now, in all of this, if you also put it side by side with the GDP growth, the nominal growth of the GDP, how has that also affected the disposable income of the people and inflation? You know, it's a lot. It's a complex web that it's only economic minds that will understand. Now, breaking it down to the pedestrian level, how much of that has affected, you know, the inflation to the extent that there is local production? Has local production been shut up? You get the point? Because if there is local production that has been shut up and prices are dropping, it is going to reduce inflation. Has inflation reduced? If you put it side by side with the CPI, after the rebasing of the consumer price index. You know, so when we hear reports like this, we need to go...
Misleading, you think?
No, not that they are misleading. The people that do it in good conscience. But the strategists that we have in government will simply take it up, you know, and make it a soundbite without actually trying to reduce it to the level where the average Nigerian will understand it. If you have an economic mind, you will understand that basically nothing has changed until such a time that we are told that, look, local production is up and that disposable income matches that level to the extent that inflation reduces. It is only at that point that we achieve some certain level of equilibrium, you know, in all of that balance. If we don't do that, it's just soundbite that they are putting out there.
All right. I'm going to bring it to the level of the average Nigerian. Why would imports drop? It's simply because money is not available. Inflation has risen to the point that those people that have appetite, unbridled appetite for foreign goods, no longer have the capacity, the income to afford it. Apart from
dangerous work, says UN. And then there's a writer to it. UNESCO Federation sounds alarm, seeks Tinubu's intervention. We hear that nearly 138 million children were engaged in child labor in 2024, including 54 million in hazardous work that endangers their health, safety, and development. Now, this is according to a report released on Wednesday by the International Labour Organization and the United Nations Children's Fund ahead of the World Day Against Child Labor, as the world marks the International Day of Play. Now, the World Day Against Child Labor is marked every year on June 12th, so today is that day. And the International Day of Play is marked 11th of June. So 138 million children involved in child labor.
You know, it is good that this is coming up. You know, this is very, very troubling. You know what makes it more troubling, more concerning is that sometime, I think early this year or last year, one of the monies we borrowed from World Bank, a certain millions of dollars, you know, I think between
was targeted
at girl child education.
Yes.
Girl child education. So, and if you look at these figures, this forced labor and all of that,
they are most affected.
About 45-50% of them are the girl child, you know. So where did we sink in all of that money that we borrowed from the World Bank? These are questions that the government should provide answers. And yet we don't have answers. But like I said, it's good that it's coming from United Nations.
And the government has also borrowed some other monies to train people on trade and all of that. Children might be involved in that as well.
In all of that, yes. And you know one funny thing, they also borrowed money for nutrition and nutrition and something around the feeding and health sector, nutrition. Money is, and when we mention these monies, we don't talk about hundreds of thousands of naira.
No.
Millions of dollars.
They're not in naira.
Millions of dollars. And as our debt exposure now is about 144 trillion naira. I'm speechless here.
Speechless. That's how the papers. I don't want to say that's how the administration. That's how the papers makes me feel. Michael Jackson. Oh well. June 12, FG cancels parade broadcast as group insists on protest. More Nigerians wallow in epic poverty, says TIB movement. Well, the president said it's low key, no parade, no broadcast. I don't know. Were you even expecting a national broadcast by 7 a.m.? Initially, the president was to address the nation, but he chose to address the nation at the joint session of the National Assembly later today at noon.
Okay, so Dele, it's good that the National Assembly is sitting.
So they're sitting today. So listen to the president's address. Has been the perfect place to protest.
No, the protesters are already gathered there in the National Assembly complex, in front of the National Assembly complex.
Today?
Yes, today.
Okay.
I think
making progress.
Yes, they have about 13, 14 locations. As organized by the End Bad Governance movement. So they have about 13, 14 locations nationwide. The National Assembly complex is one of them. So it's whether the president, whether it is by 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening, I think the important thing is that the president is going to address Nigerians. So what is he going to tell Nigerians? He's going to tell us how much progress we have made. The president is going to tell us to be patient, to give the administration time.
Of course.
The president is going to tell us to make more sacrifices, so that they will tell us that, look, Nigeria is work in progress and all hands need to be on
the theme.
deck.
I think the theme has something to do with enduring reforms or something. The essence of enduring reforms or something. I think that's something with the theme.
The theme of today's celebration.
Yes.
Having the witnesses to...
There will be a lecture later at 4 p.m.
This is our nationwide address. You can hazard a guess at any point in time.
Yes.
It's going to be a collection of what he has been saying in the last 2-3 weeks. And then highlighting the number of roads he had commissioned. ICC will also be part of it, though he's not likely to mention that it's named after him. And so you are not going to expect him to condemn himself while reading the address to the National Assembly. And the National Assembly will not even if they have opportunity of asking questions, they're not going to ask him questions about what assails Nigerians.
Now, do you expect that after his speech
on our mandate?
Exactly the question I wanted to ask. Do you expect to hear that on your mandate we shall stand? So what Nigerians expect is, you talked about the policy direction, endurance, enduring the pains of the policy initiatives. I have always been one person that, when the president started rolling out these policy directions, I kept asking my guests on the program, on This Morning and on Political Voice and Political Lens, do you by any measure see that the direction the president is traveling is a good one? Because personally, even when I didn't have an opinion, when I don't have opinion on my shows as a presenter.
Well, you have it now.
I have it now, So at that time, my thinking was that, look, the president is traveling a fine line, a good direction in terms of policy initiatives. If you look at the local government autonomy that he proposed, if you look at the state policy, if you look at the tax reform, if you look at what again did he do that time? I think there were about 4 or 5, the state police. And these are things that we have been clamoring for over time. These are things that we have been clamoring for over time, especially the local government autonomy, until we begin to manage the local government. But I also believe that, look, the local government problem, it's more not of a constitutional problem, but of a human problem. Because
operational problem,
you know, because of human error. The people, governors, if the governors want the local governments to work, local government will work.
Of course.
And I keep going back to, at a point, they try to tinker with having to pay this money direct to the local councils. And Ojo Okalo was my governor then. Ojo said, look, I don't need anything from you local governments. Use this money, do whatever. And at that time, we saw local governments in Abia State opening up transport companies, interstate and intrastate. We saw local councils building roads, internal roads.
But the moment grading roads,
the moment they change that, what we see at the end of every year is the governor will come and say, local council chairman, now you have 5 communities, like in my own local government, we have 5 communities that make up that local government area. You know, so by November and early December, the governor will say, okay, take 2.5 million naira and grade internal roads. So each community will get 500,000 naira. Out of that 500,000 naira, they will start quarreling over the 500,000 naira. And the governor will say, I'll give you money to do internal roads. 2.5 million naira local government from January to December and all of that. So, but when the president, instead of going to the National Assembly to clearly address that issue, he first went to the Supreme Court, and everything about local government autonomy now is stuck somewhere. Because the governors have also advised local council chairmen, don't go to CBN to open any account. And they have not done that. So who is receiving the money now? There is something that is trending. It says that 12 billion naira have been sent to, is it to states or to local government? But it has to do with local government.
Local government.
Okay. Local government. You know, so 12 billion naira. You know what 12 billion naira is for a local government area? You know, so and in all of this, now if you talk about state police, the state police seems to be in the cooler now. Nobody is talking about state police.
They've been quite mute.
Quite mute. The last time the National Council of States met, they said it was in the agenda, but it wasn't.
It was late.
It wasn't prioritized.
Yes.
And we had governors who, over time, have been saying, "Look, we are not in charge of security in our states. We need state police and all of that.
We are hampered.
We are hamstrung about fighting this thing." And on the issue of state police, you went to National Council of States meeting, supervised by the Vice President. And you put it at number 8 or number 9. And after 4 hours, you didn't get to talk about it.
So now, they claimed they were exhausted, so they couldn't list it and then discuss it.
So what did they go there to discuss? So you come to tax reforms now. What is going on? The bill has been passed. Is that the last we have? They have changed FIRS to NIRS. What the
NRS?
NRS.
National Revenue Service.
Nigeria
Revenue Service.
NRS. Okay.
NRS. Okay.
Yes.
What difference would that make in terms of collection? And all
that means customs will be subsumed.
Mm-hmm.
Other revenue agencies will also be subsumed, and so it becomes
a central collection
center. Just like TSA.
Like TSA. And we are dealing with TSA. And
we see what we've done with TSA in Abuja.
In Abuja, which is good. So do we see that?
Which is good. How is it good? Because you can't even track the
expenditure. But we understand that the man is working with the money.
He's working with the money. Are we?
Including the 39 billion.
Yeah.
You know. So before now, the money went into the central post. So how was it disposed? So head or tail is still the same thing.
Our evil servants.
Not civil servants.
Our evil servants are the enablers of all this.
I don't know why you're blaming civil servants. Civil servants
whatever you are
the dictates of the political appointees.
No, they don't. They don't. They cook the books for them.
I was in the civil servants in my younger days. If a clerical officer, if a file passes through a clerical officer and he uses the financial regulation and other laws, quoting them to say this thing cannot work, woe betides even a permanent secretary altering it. That file will rather be kept in view. Nothing will happen to it. So the civil servants don't say they don't have the power, but because they are hand in gloves, they go and sit with the politicians and they share the loot. That's why.
Do you ever wonder how a civil servant in Abuja whose salary is be in the neighborhood?
Let's even assume 1 million naira.
No, in the neighborhood of 180,000 to 250,000 naira. he drives a 35 million naira worth of vehicle. How did he get the money from?
I wonder.
Could have taken
Most of those estates in
Okay, he
Abuja
could have taken a loan
are owned by
that will
directors.
pay him for the rest of his working life.
And even his 30 years pension, assuming he didn't die after retirement.
All right, you guys should leave civil servants alone. Let's get into the Punch newspaper. They also, well, by the way, we will be bringing videos much later on the protests happening. We hear that protesters moving around Gani Fawemi Park. We hear that the Take It Back movement have organized, a protest. Maryland. The protesters are marching from Maryland to Gani Fawemi Park, Jota, and basically what they are demanding for is an end to economic hardship plaguing the country, asking for cost of living to be, worked on, availability of fuel. I think that is available really. It's just the money to buy it. Food prices being brought down, and the rest. These are the things that the protesters. Okay, so you can see those are videos from the Take It Back movement organized protest, and it's a good thing that they're not cordoning off the entire road. They are marching at one part of the road, so vehicles, those that want to go around, can still move around without any major obstruction. It's good to see this is going on. So Nigerians are being peaceful about it. I just hope we will not hear that it's been hijacked or something like that. I'm trying to read what is.
Tinubu is a barawo.
Is that?
Look at it now. Tinubu is a barawo.
Okay. Well, he's not in Lagos. He's in Abuja, but we even see this now. Talking about seeing this, I think the
vehicles are moving freely. Vehicles are moving freely, and the protesters seem to look organized. They're organized, peaceful.
For them to have even left a portion of the road,
a portion of the
free
road,
flow of traffic,
free flow of traffic.
Indeed. Well, like I was saying, the people we are the problem ourselves. We blame our political office holders.
You see policemen.
I was somewhere in Ikoyi yesterday. Excuse me. I was somewhere in Ikoyi yesterday, and then realized that at night street lights were not working. And then I was speaking with a few people that said, and they were just complaining that these street lights were working 2 weeks back. In fact, the street lights were working as of Monday. All of a sudden, the president has left Lagos and street lights are not working anymore. It's not because they are bad. It's because somebody somewhere feels like there's no need to turn them on because the president is not in town. And when the president was around, the whole place was lit. Street lights everywhere, working. So are we going to say that monies were not provided? I'm sure monies were provided for diesel or whatever it is that powers the street lights. Why have they been turned off when the president is not in town? So it's not we can't put everything at the table of the president. The people have their own fault in all of this.
No, I understand we are angered, but do you know if that person is acting on instruction?
What sort of instruction would that be?
No, the normal instructions that we have.
Turn it off if I leave?
If I leave.
I don't think anybody would.
No, the
do
president.
that.
No, I'm not saying.
I'm
not saying. I'm just asking. I'm not. Saying.
But I don't think
the president
do
is
that.
not likely to do.
But
that.
what is likely to have happened?
Okay.
Is probably maybe that street light is run through a generating set.
Good.
Okay.
And so they will squeeze money from anywhere to make sure that there is street lights.
To show that they are working.
Yeah, they are working.
The local government.
And as soon as the president leaves, they will say, no, we cannot continue to run this.
Okay, so it
generator.
goes back to the instruction I was talking about. Not necessarily coming from the president,
of course,
but it could come from another layered authority that says, no, don't worry.
That's likely to be the cause. They will say, no, since the president has left, then why should we waste our money on diesel again? Meanwhile, money for that diesel to run had been paid to somebody to run the place.
So now this brings me to the question that I keep asking. Is there any difference between us and advanced countries? How do they power their own? Because sometimes I travel and I stay for a while, and when I drive through at night, I see that you could drive a stretch. You could drive like from here to the Ikoyi that you talked about, from Airport Road here to Ikoyi, and on both sides of the expressway, you see traffic lights, not even one bulb, not even one of those traffic lights is off. Today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month that I stay. But here, as you are driving, the thing comes on. By the time you pass, it goes off. And you go to a section of the same road, it's very dark. No street light.
You know, when I was experiencing that off and on, I thought maybe there's a prompter that once you
step on something,
it will activate, and once you step out of it,
motion sensor.
You know, exactly. But that's where we are. And you know, some of these American spec cars, once you turn on the ignition, the light comes up.
Okay.
The essence of it is that so you don't, because there is street light that makes it look like you are in the day
you are driving in the day.
You know, that so that people oncoming can see your headlamp on the other side, so that it won't be like, because you have street light that can power the whole place, that looks like you are in the daytime. But here, nighttime or daytime.
Now, since we are talking about driving, this just came to mind. I mean, it's not in the papers, but some Nigerians have had to suffer, some of these, and we're seeing some sort of subtle campaign going on. With billboards being erected, things being put up on Third Mainland Bridge. Some weeks back, a colleague of mine was driving on Third Mainland Bridge, rush hour, and then one of the structures, the billboards put up there, it was raining, so it fell on the road and fell on the vehicle, and then there was multiple accidents on the bridge. Windshield shattered, everything. And then I asked, so who did you sue? Well, he said he tried to sue the Lagos signage and the rest, and they said, look, it's not their business. They already gave...
They can even deny that they didn't know how that thing found its way there.
So his lawyer basically was told, look, we're not going to respond to this. Go talk to the company that erected the billboard. And then he just felt, okay, let me just let this go and fix my vehicle. And he said he spent about 800,000 to fix everything, from the windshield to the bumper to the the fender to the airbag, because the airbag came out.
To pop out.
Yes, he had to fix everything. Spent about 800,000. Talking about responsibility, that's where I'm going to with all of this. Who should we be holding responsible when things like this happen? If an agency is saying, look, it's not my business. And we know that it is their business to assign billboards, structures to people
Yes, where you erect it is the responsibility of the agency.
Business, and they take fees.
They take money.
They take fees from that.
And they say it's not my business, it fell.
Okay, now Moses, you have just spoken to the larger problem of Nigerian society. When people say that we are resilient, and I ask, is it resilient or docile? Now they told your friend, look, it's not our business. And they even told the lawyer, no, lawyer, go talk to the company. And the lawyer and your friend take it. No, it is for the courts to decide, because we have statutes, we have laws specifying the responsibilities of the Lagos Signage Authority and all of that. Probably a foreigner, a European, would pursue this case for the next 5-10 years.
That's the thing.
And get to the end.
That's the thing. So we don't have that staying power. Yes,
we don't have that staying power. To say, look,
who wants to be going to court for how many years?
People abroad will go to court for $5 just to prove a point. So because there are no consequences for actions here, I've told you several times, somebody is driving against the traffic, and you try to prevent the person from driving. Fellow road users will say, now you build this road, leave them now, make it pass. Only you want to use this road.
You be Tinubu picking.
Now you be Tinubu picking.
How is it your business?
How is it your business? Allow them now, make it go. So somebody will just...
You saw what we experienced last night. Just because I wanted to show you where you can step on the road, the area boy started attacking me. Say, why should you come down? We don't know what you are doing. Meanwhile, it was to be led to a porthole so that they can extort money from him for carrying the vehicle out of the porthole. And I just came down and said, look, don't step on this side, move to the other side. And I became a problem for them.
So we don't have the staying power.
We don't have the staying power. I absolutely agree with you.
No, we don't.
We don't. Well, let's take the Punch newspaper. There are other headlines from the Punch. Democracy Day tension. Protesters mobilize as Tinubu addresses NAS. Riders, protesters target NAS complex, Eagle Square. Others, security on high alert nationwide. Police talk tough. Organizers vow to rally against hardship, insecurity. All right, well, we have our eyes on all of it. Window headlines on the Punch. 2027, Wike teases opposition. Tinubu courts minister for APC. Blackout alerts. FG commences crucial grid servicing. 3 decades after Abiola, has Nigeria betrayed June 12? Big question that can be found in page 7. June 12, Nigeria's Cybercrime Act threatens free speech, investment, US, UK envoys. And also, 6 vehicles burnt, traffic paralyzed in Lagos, Ibadan, tanker explosion. Air raid, Ashomale airpiece in fiery showdown. Amechi slams Tinubu's policies in fresh outburst. Floods ravage 180,000 farms across 30 states. And government is borrowing money for agriculture.
Oh, God. I love this country. I love this country.
All right.
Flood ravages
180,000
communities.
180,000 communities.
180,000 communities.
Flood.
So what is left?
Let's put for each community you have about 20 farmers. Multiply by 180,000. What are we getting?
I have a problem with this report.
With the figure, you don't believe it could
180,000 communities.
Farms, sorry. Could I say
180,000
farms? So 180,000 farms across 30 states.
Across 30 states.
Yes,
so
yes.
180,000. Do we have this number of farms?
We should have more.
180,000 farms.
We know we practice subsistence
farming.
farming.
We should have more than.
So the one at your backyard is part of the.
It's part of the 180,000. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Even if it's just 1 hectare on the average per farm, you know what we would have lost. And I've seen it happen in Kebbi. When I went to Kebbi some years back, rice plant that was almost ripe for harvest just swept away by flood.
There's a part of Enugu and Ebonyi State. There's a part of the border towns between Enugu and Ebonyi State. They call it Aninri. Aninri, that is the land of food. That area, local government area, Aninri local government. In fact, that is where Ike Kweremado, former Senate president. That is where he comes from. So Aninri, it's a rice producing area. Abakaliki, Ebonyi and all of that. So, and during rainy season, there's always this kind of flood, that comes to destroy rice farms there. So, and it says a lot because what I remembered it is because of what you said. You say it's somewhere in Kebbi State. Yeah. So, and when we have these situations, unfortunately, the troubling thing is that these things happen this year. Next year it will happen.
It will happen. And continuously.
So no remedy. So what happens to us as black people? I'm sure this wouldn't happen with all sense of modesty. It wouldn't happen to a European like 4 or 5 times.
No, they would
have find a way around
something to mitigate it.
Yes, they will find a way around it. But we expect it. Instead, we'll even give out warnings. Look, you need to move. So, now when you are warning people to move, are they going to go with their farms?
Let's assume that just
with their farms.
One farmer per farmland. That's 180,000 that will be displaced. And you see a farmer...
No, that have been displaced.
That have been displaced. And then you now imagine a farmer
the
turning his back on his farmland being ravaged by flood.
The report goes on to say that 350,000 hectares of arable land are lost each year due to desertification.
Okay, desertification.
That's another problem.
Another problem. Another problem that is not just agricultural, it's also sociological because it encourages migration.
Of course.
This one is not
there will be drought.
It's forced. It's forced migration because you be forced to leave that environment. Now the Chad Basin is drying up. about 40% of the Chad Basin, of the Lake Chad Basin, is dried up. Meanwhile, there is a technology where you can use to revive it, but we are not doing all of that. So what do we do? What do we use the ecological fund for? The ecological fund is monies paid into it from the excess crude account. Ecological fund. So every year, now let's say that they said they shared 40 billion naira around the 6 zone, among the 6 geopolitical zones. So what do they do with that? Why don't it's a federal money? So why don't you use it to address the desert encroachment in the Chad Basin?
To offer palliative when there is crisis.
And we still have over 200 dams.
You know another thing, before you go to dams, do you know that this Chad Basin provides employment to more than 16,000 fish farmers that can also feed the protein need of Nigeria? There's a report I read. It says that the Lake Chad Basin, the fisheries there can feed about 37% of Nigeria's protein need from fish. And we allow all of that to go waste, to lie comatose. And we are putting 39 billion naira to renovate an ICC center, an international conference center. So when people talk about priorities, do we actually prioritize our needs? I think they should be talking about...
politicians prioritize
their pockets.
Yes, they prioritize their bank accounts and pockets. That's basically it. Some other headlines here. Let's just see. Yes, let's talk about the tanker explosion at Ibadan, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Have you gotten any information around, what happened? We hear 6 vehicles burnt, traffic paralyzed, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. That tanker explosion.
I don't have a tab on that particular incident, but that is not to say that I've not witnessed one. I told you, Chukuma, that was it last weekend? Or two Fridays ago. I was traveling to Ibadan, and right in front of me like this. In fact, Tayo, out of intuition, I just saw that this trailer is likely to topple. So I just slowed down, dead slow, and I was watching the trailer, tanker trailer, and the thing was just swerving like this on the road. It ended up falling over a vehicle, and I didn't wait because I know that if I had waited,
there would be an explosion.
There could be an explosion. So I just drove off. Do you know that
there
was a particular woman at that age? She was likely to have been submerged with that tanker on that road. Daylight, around 1 p.m.
Was it the topography? Is that the problem?
It's not the topography.
Is it that the roads are not?
Those drivers.
Is it concrete road?
Lagos-Ibadan Express Road.
Expressway.
Third. Do you know why some of these things happen?
You probably should make it
before they take off from their park. They are already drunk or had abused substance that they become so reckless on the road. If you see, sometimes when you see a tanker trailer overtaking the car, then you begin to ask yourself.
It's just drunkenness. I think it's just an attitudinal thing because those that drive articulated vehicles feel like, look, they own the road, even without being drunk. If you come close to them, they want to shove you off.
I used to have a cousin. He's dead now. You know what he told me one day? We were discussing. He said the only time he feels safe is when he's driving a truck. Because they know you can't. The thing just registered in my mind. I said, okay, anybody that can afford to die can die.
Yes.
They really don't care. That's their mindset. They don't care.
They don't care. They don't care. They could just
But when it happens, they care.
They get scared and they run away.
And they
start to beg. Oh, well, this is how far we can take a newspaper review. Thank you very much for staying with us. I think the conversation continues. And of course, in other programs, we'll be keeping our tabs on the protest and the march going on in Lagos and some other parts of the country, Abuja as well. We'll let you into all of that in the course of the day. Well, big thanks to Daily Faniwell for staying with us. He's a seasoned reporter and also a public affairs commentator, VOP analyst. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Well, Chukwuma Okoro will be joining you later this evening at 6 p.m.
Yes, recap of Nigeria's 26 years of democracy. Promises to be very interesting.
Oh, yes, most definitely. You shouldn't miss that one. Well, that's it on the show. I am Moses Humphrey, and on behalf of the backroom staff, Happy Democracy Day. Bye for now.